All right, everybody, welcome back to the crossover Thursday edition of Locked On Giants, Locked On Browns. He is Jeff Lloyd of Locked On Browns. I am Patricia Traina of Locked On Giants, and we are going to outline our respective teams' keys to victory. And Jeff, let's start with you.
Well, I think there's a couple things that point out to me. Look, if I'm bringing up offensive line play, and it's not been where it's been in the past for the Cleveland Browns, worried about guys certainly like Dexter Lawrence, certainly Brian Burns, your other pass rushers for the Giants. The Browns are going to be tested until this offensive line starts to look like what has been the standard here for this team. And I understand it's going to be an offensive line in flux. DeJuan Jones is now entrenched. He is going to be the right tackle from here on. You're not going to take what this young man has done to this point and move him, because the Browns do see a chance where they are going to get some financial relief on that offensive line by having DeJuan Jones there. On the defensive side of the ball, you have to kind of look at what Malik Neighbors does. And I don't think anybody's really surprised. I mean, the polish that he had at LSU, I don't know if it is just an LSU thing, but these guys are definitely emotional players. Certainly covered Jarvis. I've covered Odell. You see Malik Neighbors. You definitely see, some passion to him, the drop, and, basically didn't want to talk to him. I mean, nobody needs to be told you drop the ball and say, oh, attaboy. Look, players know what they do with, do right and what they do wrong. But he is going to be somebody. And I think the Browns, look, they have three good top corners. So you're going to show him Denzel Ward, who's a top corner in the NFL. You have a burgeoning talent in Martin Emerson. So if there's an opportunity for Martin Emerson to go out there, who's a little more physical, got a little more length, can beat on a guy, you're going to want to lean on the rookie a little bit. That's the way you do it. If you're going to line him up in a slot, Greg Newsome, he'll play some. Greg Newsome plays slot, So you want to keep mixing it up, certainly, on a player like that. And look, I think they're going to be extremely aggressive on Daniel Jones. Look, you don't have to just say, you say Jim Schwartz, it's going to be aggressive anyway. But, there's maybe difference where, hey, it's Patrick Mahomes. We can only be so much aggressive before it bites us in the can. Or it's Daniel Jones. You know what? I'm going to keep attacking him to make him prove that he can, basically make me pay for being this aggressive. They like to play man. They like to rush the passer. It's a simple thing. Obviously, Pat, his time in the Eagles, you've seen this in action plenty times. But those are the two biggest things: is controlling, certainly the New York Giants pass rush, and then if you're the Browns, and this is something they usually do pretty well, is we are going to take your best playmaker away from you and make you find another way to beat us.
Yes, indeed. And, you mentioned the pass rush with Daniel Jones. That's actually something that I'm interested in seeing play out. Now, the Giants offensive line, I said this on my show the other day. I said, Giant fans, if I had told you that the Giants offensive line would actually be ranked not in the bottom third, but actually a little higher, would you believe me? And I haven't checked the responses yet, but the Giants offensive line has been pretty solid. All right. Not top five just yet, but it's a case of all five guys. It's interesting. All five guys, you look at the individual performances outside of maybe Andrew Thomas, all five guys are playing, okay, passable, but put them together and they are getting the job done. And that's going to be so important because the Browns have a top five pass rush. If I'm not mistaken, I think the Browns are ranked somewhere in the top five with total sacks. So that's going to be something, obviously, to keep an eye on. Can they protect Daniel Jones? Because look, when that rush comes at Daniel, he is known to panic. He is known to throw the ball away or to throw it into harm's, a window that he has no business throwing it into. So how is he going to respond to the pass rush if they are able to penetrate the offensive line? That's definitely something to keep an eye on. From the other side of the ball, I guess you can go the same way. Like you said, it all starts in the trenches. Now, the Giants pass rush so far has been kind of quiet. We haven't really seen Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns really come out and, set the league on fire. Sometimes it takes a little startup for that to happen. And then they say sacks and pressures and all that stuff come in bunches. But the Giants are going to need to get after that offensive line of the Cleveland Browns and get into the backfield, rattle Deshaun Watson or whoever ends up playing quarterback, and just, take away his options. Because look, the Giants defensive secondary remains a big, big problem. It really does. They've got Deonte Banks, who's a good young player. Adoree Jackson will probably start now, especially if Cordell Flott is not healthy. If Nick McLeod is not healthy. But that group has been shaky, and they're, that it's just kind of how things kind of worked out with the Giants, to where, that front seven now, that front seven of the Giants defense has got to get after the passer and force some mistakes, because the longer these guys have to hold the ball and make plays down the field, the more likely the Giants are going to end up getting in trouble. So we'll have to see about that. And if they can, um, protect the back end of the defense. And then just real quick, we mentioned before about the Giants with the kicking situation. They have signed Greg Joseph to be their kicker, with Graham Gano ailing. So just, thought I would throw that out there. But
Former Cleveland
yeah,
Brown.
yeah. So yeah, it sounds like to me, Jeff, it's going to be a battle of the trenches that's going to result, going to determine this game. Would you agree?
I would think so, and certainly, Giants have played obviously on the offensive line good to this point. The Browns hoping to get better in that aspect. So it's certainly, usually most of the time it kind of does come down to that. And then as both quarterbacks have had their share of mistakes that have cost their team ball games. That's going to be certainly something else that we have to keep your eye on.
All right. Well, both teams need this win. It's going to be quite the clash. The Giants probably need it a little bit more than Cleveland, but I'm sure Cleveland won't turn away a win. So, Jeff, you want to throw out a quick prediction before we say goodbye?
We usually save these for the end of the week, but look, it's inexcusable. This is a team in the New York Giants that are 0-2. The Browns last year only lost one game at home. They've already lost one game at home this year. They have the Dolphins later in the year. They have the Chiefs later in the year. They certainly have all their division opponents. I don't think this is going to be the one. I don't think the Browns are where they're going to play like clean and efficient yet. So you're going to get one of those, field goal combination scores. But if you wanted to say 26-13, 26-14, something like that. But the Browns like to get ahead, and then they like to go ahead and play their nickel and dime and just, rotate in pass rushers. And that would be the ideal plan for them, of course.
All right. Well, I said that if the Giants didn't win the first two games, I would have a hard time picking them to win. I got to see better football. I saw a little bit of improvement, just a smidge, some bright spots here and there, particularly on offense. But until this team shows me they can play complementary football, until they show me that, they can stop the run, I don't know that I can pick them. So I'm going to get the edge here to the Cleveland Browns. I'm going to say 28-13.